to talk to you today, and it will be about the compliance matrix that we know is something super important. OC, I have some people saying that they are entering in the waiting room, so I don't know if anybody else is host, so you can accept
Yes,
them.
yes, I'm admitting them.
Cool, thank you, Kande. Cool, and here you have me as Fuzzy, and you have my beautiful Nikki as co-Fuzzy. So I am going to introduce myself. I am the head of the compliance, and I have to say that yesterday I told you that I love conspiracy theories, but I don't believe them, and I also love paranormal stuff, and I do believe them. So it's very weird when someone invites me to see a movie or this haunted Latin America show that was very famous weeks ago, and I was like, I can watch everything before 3 p.m. because after that I need someone to live with me, or I will think someone will hunt me. And now we go with the beautiful Nikki here.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and to speak to you. My name is Nikki, and I am in the audit and compliance team with Lilo, and I am the Europe auditor. So it's a pleasure to meet you again. And I brought also kind of a paranormal thingy as a fun fact, because I just it put to my mind to like I was like around 13 years old, like really young, and I watched Paranormal Activity. It's not the best movie ever, but I don't know. Since that, something cracked in me, and I just imagine stuff in the dark. It's like I also believe in this stuff, and I am super scared sometimes. So yeah, so I also have this paranormal thing. Sometimes I like to watch, but then I suffer like for months at night. So
Cool.
thank
Thank you,
you.
Nikki. And I am going to ask you, because you know that I like to do weird check-ins and so on a scale of High School Musical, how are you feeling today? Because with Nikki, we love, like we have a lot of working spaces together, because she's also my communications responsible for my team. And every time we have to talk, I always put High School Musical, and we have kind of a concert in the working space. So who are you? Nikki, who are you today? How are you feeling today?
Let's see. Oh, sorry. Let's see. I feel a bit 2 and the 9. Yeah, I'm super good today.
Yeah, we have 4, we have 2, we have 4, 7, 9, 8, 5, 7. Waiting for the feedback application. Yeah, let's hope that it goes good, Lucas. 7, guys, fill the ICV survey. It's important. So I am here also reminding you. Good. I am feeling today also as a 9. I am very happy, and also as a 7 because complaints metrics. But that's good. So let's start with this. Now that we are a little bit aligned with the rest of the things, and also for that, I am bringing you today some alignments. Yes, it's going to be a long session, guys. I am not going to lie to you. It's supposed to be 1 hour and a half because compliance matrix. But we have some interactive spaces, and we are also encourage you now to talk and to ask as many things as we have. Actually, into this 90 minutes space, we have like 10 or 15 minutes and can be more if you have questions about this. So no worries for that. So please bring some snacks, some water, and sit properly. Please use Zoom in your computer or your tablet. And not on your phone, because maybe you will get lost. And you can also write your questions here in the chat or in a note or whatever, and just enjoy, because this session is not supposed to be sad. It's supposed to be heavy, but it's up to you how you can enjoy it. And about the outline, we are going to have a Kahoot. Yes, we're going to have a Kahoot powered by my beautiful blonde member called Nikki, as you know. Then we are going to talk about the ICB audit funnel. Then, do we have a new compliance matrix? Maybe. And as I say, we are going to have some Q&A. So Nikki, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'm going to close this and go for Kahoot and just start it. Play. we are going to play it so good. So good. Are you excited? Let's put it as like this.
So go
Good.
there, and the code is 71534002. We have when we have a conversation missing, my dear. We have Con from Greece, Raulito, but I don't know which Raulito. Raulito ECB or Raulito ICB?
No, there is one Raulito.
So
Optimus Prime.
oh, we have Optimus Prime. I love it. Cool. Lucas, Dems, another Optimus. Cool.
Do you hear this?
We have a Queen. We have Morgs, Tam Tam. Okay, 2 rights, 1 Raulito. I don't know how to pronounce that, so I will skip it and say Barun. We have a human. That's good. That's good because if human or Optimus or someone or Pacho wins, we are going to show it in Instagram. So, oh my God, a human won the compliance metric. So you see, it's possible to adapt this in our realities. Okay, so
because we are all Isaacers, we have a human among us.
Yes, the tea, and that's the tea. I love that sentence when I have to gossip. Okay, so I guess we can start, Nikki, with 21, 22. Okay, I will count to 5 with my fingers. Majo, apúrate, mama. I am going to count to 5, and when I count to 5, Nikki is going to start, okay?
Wait for me, please.
Oh my God, you're waiting.
Okay, I can wait, Majo, it's fine. Have a beast. Woo.
Come on, peeps. There are 60 people in this call. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Best Raed. Yoda, we have a Yoda.
You like Kahoot music?
Majo, you are here, so I can count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, and 5. Go, Nick.
So we can go. Start.
Read the questions very carefully. They are so easy, but you need to read.
The first question. How many section parts we have in the
Client Smith. Oh my God. Is it 3? Is it 6? Is it 10? Is it 12? I don't know, but we have already 15 answers.
Go, go, go. You have just some seconds. 5, 4,
3, 2, 1. Oh, it's 10. I'm so happy that few people said 3. We don't have 6 sections, people. I guess we can have 6 only with the products. We have 10. And I have them here because that is my Bible. I have it everywhere. I should tattoo it. Okay, we can go with the next one.
Let's see the points.
Ooh, good.
Best Raed is on the top.
Who is Best Raed? It's Gachao?
Oh, sorry.
ECB can freeze an entity? Yes, they can, or no, they cannot. I guess everyone answered already. Yes, for the ones that say that they cannot, babies, they can. It's written in here. ECBs can freeze an entity. They only have to request it to ICB and we will arrange everything. But
we have the power.
Yes, you have the power. Of course, if everything is doing by the book. No, I don't like this LCP. Boom, freeze entity. No, it's like it needs to follow a protocol, violation, sanctions, you know? But you can.
Let's see the points. Optimus just came to the second place.
Cool.
We can go for the next question. During ICB audit, at least how many percentage of the requested document needs to be submitted?
70%, 80%, 75%, 85%. It's also written in here. In the last page, if I am not wrong.
But don't cheat.
Oh.
We have 32
I found it. It's the clause 2.3.5. Submit at least 80% of documents requested by ICD. Congratulations. Let's see the results.
Right.
Ooh, Optimus, Lucas, Con, Varun in general. Cool.
Next. Severity level 5 violation is not heavy.
This is tricky. And I won't read it because they are way too long.
We have almost 30 answers. Yeah.
Else is not tracking standard delivery. For like, I am so happy that you think that harassment and so on, it's level 5, but it's not, it's level 4. Level 5 is not tracking standard delivery, but very good. Not having an audit system is also 4. And not filling the ICV survey. Yeah, it's not 5. We can continue. But
please fill the ICV survey.
All of those things are very important. So
yes.
Yeah.
Constantino.
It's like yesterday, racing for the ashes. What is the type of risk according to the complaints matrix?
Legal risk, performance risk, all above or none of them. Dramatic music.
Vicky, I think, do we have a health risk or no? I don't remember. Maybe health risk is
something. We have more risks as well.
Cool. All of the above. Yes, we have continuity risk. We have finance risk. We have performance risk. We have reputational risk, and we have legal risks. So it's all of them.
Good. Let's see the points.
Constantino, you are killing it. Congratulations. General, Optimus, Wen, and Morris.
Great. The next. How many entities ICD can audit?
I will give you a clue. Last wave, we audited 9. And now we are auditing 14.
Oops.
5, 8, 10, definitely beyond. Because like boss. Yes, actually we don't have a maximum number to audit. This number is defined by AC team. So we don't have a minimum, neither a maximum, but we like to audit. So maybe you can expect to be audited next.
Wow, Con is on fire.
Congratulations, Con.
Good. Let's move on to the next. Can an entity edit or delete violations in the compliance matrix?
Can an entity edit or delete violations in the compliance matrix or the ICB audit check that it will be the version for your entity? Yes or no? Oh my God, look at the result.
Wow. Then this session is going to be useful for you.
Yes, Nikki, your talk is going to be very useful for this. Guys, you cannot edit or delete any violation from the complaints matrix to your ICB audit check. It is not possible, so you cannot do it. Why? because the compliance matrix, it's globally legislated. If your ECB audit check it has something that it's edited or deleted, it's against the global compendium. So you cannot. You can adjust it. And Nikki is going to talk about these adjustments, but you cannot edit it or delete it.
Con disappeared.
When works Lucas. Con, what happened? You were top one. But it's good. It's good. It's good. Let's continue.
Is
the education booklet of the audit system part of minimums or extra miles? Oh.
We have some seconds left. Where are the others? Just 24 answers. Ooh.
Extra miles, but it's fine, because if you want to think this is a minimum, you should be having doing it by now, so it should be done. But it's an extra mile, so you can think it's a minimum and we will evaluate it as an extra mile. It's fine.
See the results.
When congratulations. But Mork is so close, like she's on your butt, literally.
Yes, yes.
Like
Yummy.
At least how many times ECB?
Last one.
The answers are so fast. Come on, we expect 30 answers.
No, when, why? 2, 1. Let's go. 4 times. Yes. We suggested to make it monthly. There are some entities that honestly I don't know how they do. They do it weekly or bi-weekly, and they also do it monthly. But the minimum should be each quarter. Okay. See.
The third place. So.
Oh.
The second is Lucas.
Lucas and who is it? Who is it? Mark. And we have runner-ups of when and general. I will put this later on in the Insta story because we have a session to deliver, right? Okay. Thank you, Nikki. You queen of Kahoots. Congratulations to all of our participants. If you had it wrong, no worries, because that is what this session is about, so it's fine.
And we continue with the Kahoot.
Okay. So I want to ask you if you know about the changes that we had in TLC. Do you think that we have a new ICB audit funnel? Yes, we do. Indeed, we do. We have a new funnel, but don't panic. Like, it's actually not a new funnel. We just reshape the funnel that we had. And this can clarify some things for you, but also it can help you to understand how you can audit your entity properly. I just saw one comment. I just wanted more to wins. Okay, I cannot. Oh, here. So, Nikki, go, baby.
Okay, so we have a question for you. Oh my God, what did you do? So we have a question for you to identify which phase has change or phases have changes. The ECB audit report, entities to audit, virtual audit process, or the final report. Which of these part has or have changes? You can write to the chat your guesses.
Which do you think it has some changes? Only 1, 2, 3, all of them. Okay, Baron says the phase number 3. That's cute. Okay, so I am going to move because with Nikki, we want to explain to you all again how the funnel works. And after we explain it, you are going to see if you were right or not. So whenever, yeah, here. The first phase that we have is the first one. It's actually a very, very short phase. It doesn't take much time for us. Maybe it does for you, but not for us. And it's basically that we run an analysis based on the ECB audit report, and we define a score for each one of the questions that we are giving to you. And if the entity, because we map out all of the entities, didn't submit this ECB audit report, we are going to run an analysis to the ECB, to the ICB survey. I'm sorry, but I cannot press. Okay, to the ICB survey, to SOGA, to EXPA, and to the GFB survey. Those are things that, as Rolito said yesterday, we include, but not limited to, check those resources, because I love that phrase. About this, for the scores, I will explain very briefly to you how we define the scores. For example, right now, I see here that for working hours, we have a minimum or a maximum of working hours not respected. If you didn't audit that, or if you didn't sanction that, or if you didn't, if you were not running a system on that, you are going to get a -3. Why a -3? Because the 3 is the severity level that we have for that violation. So that's why you should fill the report, and that's why you should have it by now an audit system running. Because not auditing this, it's like you cannot prove that this didn't happen. So we are going to count that this happened. That's how it works. That's why the best score that you can get, starting from here, it's 0. Why? Because 0 doesn't have a negative point. And every violation that we identify, or any score that we identify, it's a subtraction out of that 0. This is really worried because right now we have entities that has -400, -500, but also we have entities that indeed they have -4, -5, -1, and this is good. So fill the ECB audit report. And also clarifying you this, if you don't fill the ECB audit report, this is not going to be an excuse for us not to audit, because we can check ICB survey. We also have a very strong synergy with CS team, so they also are giving us a report, like updated in a daily basis of how many consultancies, or not consultancies, but breaks or cases they are receiving from your entity. So we have a very strong pool of how to choose entities, and we can choose entities that were with an audit system and they fill the report, and also entities that they didn't answer anything. Cool. Nikki?
I'm sorry, it's just the siren and I don't want to.
Okay, in the meantime, Nikki is going to explain the phase number 2, that it's about ranking and selection. And now, Nikki, I guess you can talk, right?
Yes, I the siren went away. I'm sorry. So we have the phase 2, which is ranking and selection. So what Lilo was explaining that we have the scores. So during a selection procedure, we check the scores, and we check also what sections of the portfolio have these minus scores, and we rank it. So we rank the entities that we want to virtually audit, and we put the objectives of each audit. So we can say that in the safety guidelines part, one entity has like a super big minus number. It's something that we need to consider. So we put to the little group of ideas or options that we want to audit. As you could see in the Kahoot, there is no minimum or no maximum of entity to audit per wave. So it totally depends on us how many entities we want to audit per wave, and this is defined by first Lilo and also the team, because we are also humans, so we don't want to die, but we also want to be effective. And moving on, we have the third phase, which Lilo will explain.
Cool. Before that, I will add something to the phase number 2. So basically, we are ranking entities that has the lowest score, and how many entities we decided to audit is literally, Nikki, how many entities do you have that are red flags? If really we have one entity that is super big, we are definitely going to audit that. But if we have an entity that is very close to that one, Nikki can say, yeah, I want to audit this one too, because this, and that. And it's not only checking this, we are also checking or cross-checking with the ICV survey. For example, if in the ICV survey, when I check the results, they say that you didn't run an audit system, and in this survey, you only filled the first one, well, there are things that are not matching, so probably we're going to audit you because there are incoherences and we need to understand what is going on. So that's about it. And for the third one, we can proceed with this one. It's the entire phase of the virtual audit funnel. So in here we have two types of, not type of audit, but two processes of this virtual audit. So we have the audit for the operational areas that are basically any exchange area, and for the non-operational areas that are IWA, LLC principles, safety guidelines, and other. If you are asking where is partly remote, it's part of the operational areas, because partly remote it's only applicable to GT. So what we do is that basically we analyze the realization number from the last 6 months. So for example, the entities that are going to be audited now, that are being audited right now, they will start from October. The entities that we audited in January and February, they were audited from July. So it's the last 6 months, and it's based on realizations. If the entity doesn't have realizations, we can audit very easily approves. That is also something that we can audit. And how we decide how many EPs, for example, for operational areas, well, we took how many realizations they had or how many approves, and we can have a sample. A sample, it's a number that can give us a very overall perspective of how this thing works, but also I have very nice auditors. And they say, I don't want to follow the sample, I want to audit them all. And that's what happened in the last wave. So they didn't want to follow the sample, that was fine. So they audited all of the realizations that we had. And for some entities, all of the approves that they had. And we can request documents, and there are two types of interviews that we can conduct. We can conduct 3. We can conduct only document check, that it will be expat check, will be contracts check, or any proof that you deliver to us. Can be only interviews, or can be document and interview. If we are having documents and interview, and you only attended to the interview, you are not going to pass. Like this violation. Why? Because we are requesting you 2 things, and you are delivering us only half. So that is how this document works. We are going to tell you right now, not right now, but if you are going to be audited, we are going to tell you, we are going to check for this violation document or interviews or both. But which type of document, we are not going to tell you, not because we don't want to, but because it's up to you. If you have a document that proves to us that this violation didn't happen, then you should submit it, and we are going to evaluate it. If you have no idea which documents you can provide, you can go to the compliance matrix, to the master tracker. You all have access to that. If you don't know what I am talking about, you can go to the ICB website, internationalcontrolboard.com, and there you can have a full list of resources, and there you can see, for this violation, those documents work. For this other violation, those documents works, and you have at least 2 types of documents that you can submit to us. So literally, you just need to organize yourself and to understand which type of documents you can give us to provide that this violation didn't happen. And that's the main thing that you need to think. Please close your microphones, not you, Nikki. And you need to think when you deliver a document, okay, so ICB wants to understand for expectation settings that says, not provided all information needed about living cost, accommodation, location, and legal immigration within 2 weeks after approval. I need to prove that I did provide the information needed about living cost, accommodation, location, and legal immigration within 2 weeks after approval. If you can prove that with any document, then send it. It's fine, even if it's not listed in that outline that we have in there about proofs. Once again, we just need to know that this violation didn't happen. And if you didn't submit a proof to us, we are going to understand that this proof happened because you didn't prove it didn't. So that's for me super, super clear. When we are requesting documents and interviews, we are going to check the documents and the interviews, and we are going to see how current they are between them. It can happen that in the first wave, we are requesting you for a document or an interview, and in the second wave, we ask for the other one. And this can be because we need more information about, or maybe something was not clear, and we just need to confirm certain things. But that's it. And the fourth action, it's interviews. At least your ICB auditor, or in the not worst case, because it's not worse, but in case your auditor cannot, I will conduct the interview, and it has to be a minimum of LC, of any LC member, can be LC member, can be LC team member, can be LCP, LCBP, any person inside a certain LC, can be an MC, MC director, MCBP, MCP, any MC member, and ECB. Generally will be the ECB chair, I am being honest from now on, because the ECB chair is the one that we are talking the most, but also can be your ECB auditor, can be your ECB, I don't know, any ECB member that you have inside your board. If you only have, you don't have ECB chair and you only have MC responsible, then we're going to conduct only one interview to the MC responsible. But I am going to, not but the team, I as ICB, we are going to ask them about the question that we will ask for an ECB chair. That's why it's important what also Karina said, you will have to, if you don't have an ECB chair, you will have to act as one in the audit process. And after that, we can cross-check some things like SOGA. For example, for IWA, we are asking the entities to give if they reported the activities on IWA, like of IWA in the SOGA, but also to name them. And we are going to cross-check with the SOGA survey if those things are matching or not. We also check the ICV survey, as I already did. We have few questions about audit in the ICV survey, but still we cross them. And the GFB survey, that is something that we get, oh, if I am not wrong, monthly. Yeah. And that's it. That's for operational areas. For non-operational areas like IWA, LLC principles, safety guidelines, and others, we have only 4 actions. The first one is we identify the number of proofs that we are going to request to audit. This will be defined by your auditor and me. If by some reason you have one document that proves us everything, then it's fine. But as far as it's proving us everything, if not, well, you are not going to have that proof. I will give you an example that happened last wave. We were auditing LLC, and the entity decided to give us one PDF document that was super long, like 15 pages, but it has everything. So we approve it. Why? Because it was proving us that the violations name on the complaints metrics were not happening. So that's fine. The last one is that we are going to request those documents to you. But once again, if you feel like you can give only one or that the proofs are attached to each other, it's fine. And we are going to schedule interviews. The interviews, even if we have for operational and non-operational, can be the same interview. We can have only one interview with an LC and ask them as many things as possible so they don't have 2, 3, 4 interviews. But that's for you to be aligned. Which type of questions do we ask in the interviews? Questions that can prove to us that first, you know your internal processes. Second, your membership, or you know how to downscale those information to the membership. And third, to understand if like the things that you cite in the documents and the things in the interviews matching. How we do evaluate interviews is not like, oh, this interview was cool. No, actually we have a criteria for the questions. And if they fill the criteria, then it is passed or not. My suggestion for you is we have 2 waves, right? Around each wave, it's kind of week and a half. Try to submit as many things as possible and try to have as many interviews as possible in the first wave. Why? Because in the first wave, your auditor is going to sit and is going to evaluate and is going to talk to me about the results, the findings, and the interviews. And we can decide, yes, this proves this violation or not, or this is enough, or whatever, or this document was wrong. And we are to let you know, so you can fix it for the second wave. But if you only submit documents in the second wave, this document is not going to be pre-evaluated. It's not going to receive feedback. It's only going to receive the final report. So this is about the phase that has changed, like the things that we have right now for the virtual audit process part or phase inside the funnel. And it's super important that you know that this phase is the longest one because it takes an entire month. The months that we are auditing right now, or the entity that we are auditing right now, they have from May 1st until May 31st. They don't have more time. So that's it. It's super long, but it's not that complicated. You just need to align, and if you have a strong system to audit, then it will be so easy to provide the proofs. A disclaimer, ISA international language is English. This means that the proofs should be in English. If you speak any language that is not English, even Spanish, for example, I am Colombian, I understand Spanish and kind of a little bit of Portuguese. I will understand what you are saying, but it's not the language of ISEC. So regardless the language of your auditor, regardless anything, you need to provide the proofs in English. So you just need to translate it. So it is not that complicated. And the last but not least, Nikki, shine.
Yes, so we went through the virtual auditing process, which is like super long and super full of things. We arrived to the last point, which is the final report. So we have the whole auditing process, and as ICB, we also need to report to the entity about the results, what they got. So we create a super long report with full of numbers and full of data and everything. And it also includes action plan if the entity needs to develop in something, and a strict follow-up plan. And also, of course, for the sanctions part, if we would give sanctions and ICB, but this would be also the place. But next to the sanctions, it's important the educating part, which is the action plan and how we want to make the entity improve to not be audited again in the future. And also we are going to have like virtual consultancies with the entity, talking about the results deeply. And if it wouldn't be for COVID, then we can have in some cases physical audits to be performed in the entity, which means that ICB, the auditor, would travel to the country and sit down and go through the documents and have the physical audit. But because of COVID, we can't have that, unfortunately, but I would love to travel, but it's okay. And yes, the sanction that I was already mentioning. So,
sorry.
Do you have anything?
Yes, adding to that, to the last slide, for the entity that were audited in January, February, we are already sending the reports and scheduling the calls, but we are going to finish them after VICO because we have to be here. But all of the reports are done. And of course, you are not receiving any sanction this wave. Why? Because we passed a motion that was approved by the MCP saying that all sanctions for international level will be applicable after IC. So we just have an action plan for you that it's very strong, and it's basically tackling all of the red flags that you had while in the audit system. And please follow it, because even, and this is a frequently asked question that I get, even if you were audited this wave, you can easily be audited next wave. And if you don't have it already, it will be, again, a chaos, more than for ICB to audit everything again, but for your entity, because it's not being compliant and it's not ready to have internships and so on. And for the next one, we can have sanctions. So think about it. And as Nikki said, you have consultancies with ICB. You can have as many consultants as you want. The team is super nice. The team is super cool. If you don't have time for a call, like, you can text them in Telegram. If they don't answer you, that it's super weird, you can just text me. I take a little bit more to answer you, but I know that my team will answer you super, super fast. So no worries, and really reach your team. If you are not being audited and you want to have a consultancy with them, you can also have it. You just need to book them through the website also, and it will arrive directly to our agendas. Cool.
Great. So thank you, Lilo. We arrived again to the question. Let's see what is your guesses right now after seeing the whole audit funnel. So just put to the chat, what is your guesses out of these 4? What has or have the changes? Can you help me, Lilo, to see the chat?
Yes, but they are very shy and they don't want to say anything. And I
Don't be shy. We are nice people.
It can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, it can be 4. This is not an interview of an audit system, so it's
Yes.
fine.
You won't get sanctions because of that.
Yeah. 3. Thank you. All of them together. Okay. What else? What else? 3. 3. Guys, did you know that 3 is my favorite number? While the people keeps answer. When I was Evie, we all have our numbers, right? And I was number 3. I fought for that number because I wanted the number 3. I really like number 3. And Nikki, let's see what is the answer.
Okay, let's reveal. Ta-da-da-da. It's the 3rd. So good for those who guessed the 3rd. To understand what was the changes, I'm going to also show you the changes. What are the differences? So let's go for the phase 1. How is it in the complaints matrix is like this, that ICB conducts qualitative analysis based on the ECB audit reports and then defines a score for each one. But then again, we have the question that, okay, what is it like? How is it in the cases if the entities are not answering the audit report? What in these cases? So that's why we added that those who not answer the ECB audit reports, shame on you, you should answer. ICB will conduct analysis based on other resources such as ICB survey, SOGA, Expo, or GFP survey. So we have other sources to go and get the data. And we have changes for the phase 3. How is it originally that we initiate with the virtual audit process? We request documents and interviews and etc. and go with the virtual audit process. But it was also not really detailed, so that's why we separated for operational areas that you could already heard from Lilo, that we are for operation areas, we identify the number of realized. If we want to audit all the realized, then we can audit all of them, but we can also using the sample calculation. And then we can identify LCs based on the findings that we found. And then we can request to identify possible violation mapped on the matrix. And then we can schedule interviews with ISAC members. And then, if optionally, we can analyze other answers. And we have another part, which is for the non-operational areas that you already heard again, with the same actions, identify the proofs, also request documents based on that, and schedule the interviews. So these are the main changes, or we just wanted to put like more detailed to make more sense. And that's it for this phase. Do you have something else, Lilo, to add? Okay, so we can move forward. And I will give the word for Lilo to talk about the new compliance matrix.
Before that, I saw a question from, I hope I will pronounce your name properly. Remember, I'm Colombian. Momina, I think. She was asking sample system works. And for that, I will share my screen so I can show you how we do the sample match. Do you see now my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, cool. So literally, since we already know this for a while, it's just a sample size. So for example, our confidence level, if not 100, because my auditors always want to go 100. I love you, AC Wind. Let's say that it will be 95, right? So we have a margin of error of 5, and we use 50% because we are not sure. And let's say that we have 500 realizations. So we type in here 500, and it will say to us that the sample size will be 218. So we are going to audit 218 EPs out of those 500 realizations. That is how this works. So that I hope that I clear your question. now I stop sharing and you can share again screen, Nikki. And yeah.
Can I ask a follow-up question really quickly?
Of course.
Right. So this is something that the ICB does to audit entities. This is not something the ECB can implement, the sample method.
No, because since you are going to audit all of the LCs and all of the operations that they have inside to control all of the risk, you should audit all of the things that you have. This case is only for ICB because we are going to audit your audits somehow. Go.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
I have a question as well.
Go.
My question is that suppose ICP decides to audit an entity, and as you've mentioned that sanctions will be applicable after the International Congress, which will happen in July. So let's say you audit an entity and then that entity, you recognize violations and those violations lead to sanctions. Will those sanctions be applicable after the IC, or will you just decide not to apply any sanctions?
Right now, at this point, sanctions will not be applicable on the report because the report is going to be maximum by the 3rd week of June. So you're going to go to the plenary with your report done. What can happen is that one of the, not sanctions, but the next steps that you will have will be for your MCP to report to the plenary how was implementation of the action plan. And that will be how it's planned to work right now, but we still have a long path. But according to the book, in this second wave, we are not going to apply sanctions neither on the ECB audit report, on the ICB audit report, sorry.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
Cool. Now we can move to the compliance metrics. If you have any other question, just raise your hand. Like you see, we are super relaxed. So now about compliance metrics. Do we have a new compliance metrics? Maybe not, maybe yes. And we are going to explain that with Nikki. Maybe you already know this because this was in the opening of, no, not in the opening, but in one of the sessions, in the governance sessions that Ka delivered yesterday. And is that we are going to explain basically what are the few changes that we have right now in the compliance metrics. So, here. The first one is that in the context for TLC, we decided to audit 9 entities. And there was a sanction that says if while you auditing, like you as ECB charter in your entity, you found anything that will be 4 or 5, it will be automatically audited by us. But we are 6. With me, we are 7. And this was the first time that we were actually running this wave because before this type of audit, because before we didn't have compliance metrics. And also, once again, we are 6. So it was impossible to audit more than 60 entities, taking into consideration that an entity, like the period of auditing an entity, it takes 1 month. So that's why this was removed for that. And once again, remember that, and maybe this can change after IC, maybe not. The other thing, it was about violation. So that was the only change that we have for sanctions, and of course not applicable sanctions before IC. Now for violations, we had 4 changes. The first one is that we change the severity level from 3 to 4 because it was matched. It was like the X in 4 severity types, but only number 3. So that was something that we already knew. For the other one, we removed the violation of IPs not allocated in LCs on EXPA, and this will impact the compliance metrics of the section that has anything that is operative. Then for the word adjustment, we just add information because before it was not adding health insurance on EXPA, but it's health insurance information on EXPA. And we had a disclaimer that it was right now, you all know that we have some pricing model that needs to be working on, and the deadline will be on 2023. So we cannot audit this to be done. We can audit having a plan to be implemented from 2023. So it will be like the progress that you are having. So at this point, pay attention. I don't know if there is any MCP here or any MC, but if not, ECB chairs tell them how is the pricing model going from 2023, because at this point you should have been already started working on that with your finance and your JV is responsible. And yeah, that's it. And so remember that even if we had only 4 changes, for example, in here, you see that it's impacting more than one, because that is the general violation and you should check. My advice to you is to do what I did, is to do what I did. So I literally went to my compliance matrix and I colored all of the things that were or edited or deleted, so you don't get confused with that. And now, okay, Adim from Pakistan, you have a question, go for it.
Yes, I did have a question. My question was basically that you said when you audit an entity, you'll provide them action steps on how to recover basically things that can be recovered. One of the things that leads to violations for many LCs are timeline issues. So let's say sending standards approval to EPs after they've been approved is a level 4 violation. Similarly, um, you know, not sending the AEPP before approval is a level 4 violation. And those are things that can't be fixed. So how do you suggest that these things can be fixed when these are timeline issues that can't be fixed?
Okay, those things actually can be fixed. There are 2 ways to do them. Okay, in the action plan that we are going to give you all, it has a component of education. So the first thing will be to make sure that everyone inside your entity knows that, for example, AEPP needs to be done before the EP gets approval. So the first will be checking on that. The second one can be something about automatization. I am from my home entity, it's ISEC in Colombia. And when I was BP, I remember that we had polio automatized. So for example, whenever the EP was moving from, I don't know, accepted to approved, there was an automatic feature or an automatic thing that it will be sending automatically the document or the next step to their mail. So you can do that. You can start thinking how those things can be automatized. If you do them by human, of course, we are humans, we can make mistakes, but try to avoid this as much as possible. So try to talk with your IT, try to talk with your entities and see how this can be automatized. Yeah, and that's it. Or even you can make a rule with your entity. Okay, Nikki is still going to talk about that, but you cannot delete sanction, but you can add sanctions. You can add violations. So one violation can be approving someone with no requirements or with no criteria or something like that. So the entities will know that even before they make the approval, they need to send the document to that. So I think those things about timeline can be checked with automatization. Or yeah, I think that will be the best way to do it.
Okay,
Yes,
much.
it can be if you have access to left nurturing system also. Yeah, I think it's about how you can, yes, Murks, you can add, just give me a second. Yeah, and that's it. But the first thing, of course, even if you have the best system to nerd things or to automatize stuff, if your entity doesn't know that they need to do this, then it won't work still because they are not going to press the button.
Okay, okay, thank you so much.
Cool.
What I was going to add is that, for example, there are some stuff that you can work better with mitigation and with prevention than with mitigation. For example, they are having issues of sending APIP for APs before approval. So then what you can do is inside your contract, you can have an annex linking to APIP. So the terms and conditions. So it's also a way that you are ensuring that they are having access to the information of APIP before. And for example, ensuring that OPS follows the minimums. You can work together with your MCOGX for having a template already established that follows the APIP minimums and that the LCs follow based on that. So they don't create their own PPTs that you have to audit maybe 5 or 6 different, but you audit the template. So it's something that you can use that kind of minimize your work, because sometimes when you're dealing with 4 or 5 entities dealing 30 approvals in a semester, that's okay. But if you're having 100 approvals per month and 50 entities to audit, that can be problematic. So it's better if you minimize the effort as well.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Morgana.
Cool. There is any other question, guys? Nope. Okay. Now, Nikki, and pay attention to this, guys. If you have a situation going with what Nick is going to tell you, I will give you a spoiler. Tomorrow's sessions are also with AC Team because tomorrow is AC Team Day. And we're going to have literally working spaces. So pay attention to this, please. Go, Nikki.
Okay. Then now we are going to talk about the ECB audit check, which is like a compliance matrix for ECBs and the reality of the entity. So the current context is that there are a lot of entities or ECBs who has the ECB audit checks done and already legislated into the National Compendium. But there are some problems with that, which is like it was not really clear that they can't modify, they can't delete stuff. So they legislated that way, which is wrong. So that is why it's really important to adjust to your ECB audit check, because as we were mentioning, it's against the global compendium if it's not the same. So we are going to go through the question that how I can know that my ECB audit check is not compliant. So this is the big question for today, for the rest of the session. So this is something that you can do with your ECB audit check. You can add violations if you want. You can add sanctions, of course. This side, the ECB audit check item. So you can see the violation in the ECB audit check. I'm going to show like this, the violation part. Then there is the type of type of risk and the severity level of sanction. And then you have the ECB audit check item. And then there is the column of the applicable. So you can decide what to write in the ECB audit check item column part. And you can decide who what you defined in the ECB audit check for who you can applicable to or apply to the sanctions. And also you can work with a pointing system. It's up to you, the point system, what you want to define to your entity based on your reality. So these are the main things that you can do with the ECB audit check. And there are stuff that you can't do. You can't edit violations because it's against the global compendium. You can add, but you can't edit. You can't delete violations. You can't edit sanctions. It is how it's in the global compendium. You need to stick with those sanctions, but you can add plus sanctions if you want to punish more. But you can't delete sanctions. Sorry. You can't delete or change the type of risks, and you can't change the severity level. So this is the things that you can't do with the ECB audit check. It is also good that we stick for one way, which can be good for to have like a standardized way of being complied. But also every entity is different. They have their own reality. That's why there is the possibility to add specific or to define more violations or more sanctions. But what is really important that you need to legislate then your whole ECB audit check. It is not a must to legislate it if you don't add anything, but you stick with the violations and the sanction part. But if you add something new, yes, we really advise to do that. But if you add anything more to your ECB audit check, you must legislate to your own compendium, the national compendium, because otherwise there won't be any base to give those sanctions because it's not under the global compendium. You understand what I'm about to say. So this is the stuff that you can't do. And why it's not moving forward. Yes.
Cool. So that
We are
was
at the last
something that Nikki wanted to say about the compliance metrics. Can you go about the ECB of the check? Can you go back, maybe? Indeed. So next step. I know, because I've been checking with my team, some of your ECB audit checks, that some of you already had some editions on this document, right? And the issue here is not that it has the vision, is that it is legislated. So this makes that the system that you have right now, it's somehow against the global system. So what you need to do, you need to take your compliance metrics. No, you need to take the compliance metrics on the ECB check and undo, like delete, like Control C to the things that you edited. And you need to legislate that one. I know that some things are legislated already, but having an audit system that is not compliant with a global one, it's not good. Because in that case, it is a violation that we already have mapped out because it's not checking all of the sanctions, the compliance metrics. And also, believe me, we are working right now with, we have a team inside AC that is actually Cande and Jess from Americas, working on the improvement of the compliance metrics after IC. Because we are aware that there are some things that are not well settled, that we need to add more things, that maybe we need to delay other things. But so far, please mute your microphones. But so far, what we have is the things that you should follow. And these things that we have right now legislated went through a process of creation and analysis for around 3 months. So believe me that everything that we can, it's super mapped in type of risk and in severity level. So please go what it's written in there. You can add as many violations as you want. Actually, if you add them, let your auditor know so we understand that maybe we also need to include this one in the global version. So if you add sanctions, violations, or anything, it's good. Let us know those addings that you have, but you cannot delete this. If you need any type of support, you also can reach your ICB auditor, you can reach me, it's super fine. And that's it. And about the ECB audit check, I will also explain something that maybe it's one of the questions that you might have, how we can define an ECB audit check or how ICB works with the ICB audited check. So let's say that here, for example, we have a violation level 5 that it's else is not tracking standards delivery, right? And the ICB audit check says violation identified in 30% or more, else is being audited. What does it mean? If I have 4 EPs, no, if I have 5 EPs, and out of those 5 EPs, they are all from the same LC, and out of all of those 5 EPs, only it was not tracked in one EP, it won't be a violation. Like, it won't be a violation that will be sanctionable. Why? Because it's less than the 30%. You can have LCs not tracking standards delivery. That it's not good at all, and it shouldn't be happening. But it will become sanctionable if more than the 30% of the EPs audited doesn't have an LCs tracking standards delivery. So take care of that. Or in the other case, you have 3 EPs in the same violation from different entities, and only one of those entities were following the system. In numbers, it won't be more than 30%, it will be less, but it's different LCs. So it means that it's something that somehow is happening in a systematic way inside your entity. This will be sanctionable because it's happening in more than one LC that is being audited. So you can think about this, how you can implement it in your entity. If a sanction is going to happen with a local entity, if it's happening in more than one product, it is happening in more than one realization, like this thing about when it's going to be sanctionable, it's up to you. If you want my suggestion, I have 2 suggestions for you about this ECB audit check. The first one is leave the margin of error as lower as possible. Why? Because first, you are covering that your entity is having a big audit system that it's working properly. And second, in case ICB decides to audit you, you already have everything covered because you already are working with a system that it's more like demanding than the one that we have in ICB. And the second one of the questions that Nikki asked you in the Kahoot was how many proofs an entity has. No, how many proofs? No, yeah, has to submit to pass, and it's 80%. Yes. My advice to you about this is there are some entities, I don't remember the name, I think Italy, and I don't remember another entity. They have to have or 95% or 90% or 100%. Once again, don't make this process easy for the entity because about auditing, there is nothing easy. And you are literally analyzing, like with a maximizer eye, how the system or how the entity is doing. It's not good at all if you are having an entity that it's not sending a EPP on time. Why is this happening, for example? So you can increase and you can have since the beginning a very demanding audit system. I know some of you are already implementing it since the beginning, but again, if you make a system that is soft right now, then I'm thinking as an LCP, I will say, oh, why we don't keep this as it was before? So give them a very strong system since the beginning so they know and they get used to work. I can think and I say, and this is a discussion that I always have, for me as auditor and as head of AC, one of the strongest system, for not saying the strongest one, that the plenary has right now, it's ISEC in Brazil. And Brazil, it's super detailed. You are going to have a GCP about Brazil auditing system tomorrow. And you are going to see that they are very strict with the entity and they have a culture of auditing that always have been this strict. And this is why, indeed, they have violations. They have things that were not supposed to happen somehow, but they are very, those situations are being controlled. And I want to say something that Mark said. It's not, at some point, as you as ECB chairs and more with an audit system, is not about firefighting. It's about fire preventing. So think how you can prevent things from happening. And if you know how to prevent things, you will have to fight with few things, but also you will get to know and you will understand how you can fight those things. I think that's very much it. I see some questions and some raised hands. So let me go first for the chat and then we go for the hands. One question is probably silly, but I am a new member. Does the ECB make changes to the same podium cards that the ECB changes? No. When we are changing any status or when we are making any change, it will be directly on Expo. When you submit to us, because for example, I know and ICB has access to the Brazilian space to audit, we just check if the violation happened or not. We just check the proofs that you have in there, but we don't touch anything into any tool that any entity has. Everything that we do is directly on Expo. Oh, okay, Mark's already answered, but yes, cool. So I have two hands up. One is from Momina and the other one is from the ECB director in Pakistan. Well, I don't want to pronounce your name because maybe I will do it wrong. So you can go, Momina.
Awesome, thank you. So I have a question about that last thing you said about not making the audit process easy on your entities. And so this is kind of a conundrum for us here in Pakistan. I was the director of audit last year, and my successor is Adeem. I feel like we might be thinking about the same issue. So last year, before sanctions were legislated in the IC, we in Pakistan implemented a rollout of the audit system where we put our entities through that same process as if they were going to have sanctions, but we didn't actually sanction them. This was something we had discussed with the ICB. Now this year, we have to do that same system, the same rigorous checks, but the sanctions are applicable. Now, the problem was last year because the sanctions were not applicable, we weren't seeing the response from entities that we would want to pass the audit. And this year, now that the sanctions are applicable, and the entities have not, they're not up to speed on those things that we require of them. Now the ECB entity synergy is being affected because there's a hostility between the two bodies, because now we're trying to sanction them again. So while I agree with what you said, that we have to make sure that we're as rigorous as possible, this kind of rigor does affect the relationship that you have with your entities. So how do we make sure that this entire process happens with as less friction as possible?
I think that the most important thing in here is to let the entities know that the audit process is not the devil. I know it's afraid, like it's scary when you say, and if any entity here that's being audited by us, it's like, why they are going to audit me? Indeed, it's not that bad. Why? Because you are going to have external that is going to analyze your processes. Okay, I know that some entities can be, I don't know, they don't want to be audited, but some things came from fear. And it's because they feel that ECB is going to punish them out of nowhere, right? So I think that the first thing and the most important thing will be for you all to explain to the entities the real purpose, and more than the purpose, the benefits of an entity being audited. Also, and it's not something that they can decide. So don't threat them. Of course, don't threat people. That is something that actually it's harassment. But let them know that you can make things in a very smooth way together, but also if they don't want, they will still have to go through this process. So you are going to audit them anyway. If they don't like the ACV audit check and your LCP says, no, I don't want to follow this system, I'm so sorry, but it's not your choice. And if your entity says, I don't want to legislate that, then you don't have to legislate it, but it is applicable anyway, because your MCP already legislated. That it's the global version. So I think it's about showing them the benefits of being audited. I think that maybe a way out that you can have while warming the entity or preparing the entity to be sanctioned, it will be to have educational sanctions before going to freeze the entity or charge with money the entity. So they can get to know their mistakes, they can get to know how they can improve, but by the end of the day, you need to give them something for not following the rules. And once you have a system properly, it's really easy. And this is a conversation that I had with a group of MCPs last term, and it was them asking, and maybe this situation happens to you also, and also can be something that came from the MC. Why don't we delay the sanctions? Or why we don't lower the severity level? And the answer that as ECB we need to always have in our mind, and you as ECB, but us as ICB, is why you want us to lower the minimum things that you need to give to your customers. That is, it's super bad, because the things that we have in here is the minimums. If you go to a company and you want to sign a contract, you want to see it first. Why you're going to get a pay phone bill after already being receiving the services? So I think this is kind of the message that we should give them. I also think, and I keep thinking, it should be strong, because, for example, if you start hesitating and you start thinking, the LCPs are not going to follow you. And you need your MC to have your back. You cannot, and I was saying that before when I was BDTL, you cannot properly work as ECV if you don't have the MC, not by your side, but by the compliance side. Because what we are asking to them are the minimums. So I think that one thing will be super educate them in the benefits of being audited and why this is good and not bad. The second thing will be to make sure that that maybe you are starting with an engaged system, more like a trial, so they don't get punishments of being freezed or being monetary expenses, but you will have to get there at some point. Because if they are not tracking the delivery of the entities, if they are, and this is something that you also need to make them understand. If you are an LCP or you are a VP and you are not tracking the delivery of your entities, you are not sending them the AEPP in advance, you are not communicating with them, then why you are making exchanges? You are doing everything super wrong. You shouldn't be able to deliver anything, because this is your job. Your job is to do things right. Your job is to make sure that your customers are okay. And a lot of these things are not only about the EPs, are also about the OP providers. How is possible that also an OP doesn't know that we have a rule that says you cannot discriminate your EP for being Black, for example? Because right now we are receiving cases like that. Oh, but I didn't know that that was a value. Then why are we making this sale? I am not going to send an EP to a company where I know it's going to be threatened. And I know that because I didn't align my settlement. So I think those are conversations that you can have. And if you see all of this context is the reason why we have this. And if your entity knows why they need to do certain things and follow certain protocols, then things will be fine. If they don't want to follow that, worry, because this means that they are not ready to deliver quality exchanges. They just want to deliver it as they can, and that is not good. And an entity like that shouldn't be operating. So an entity like that should be frozen, yeah, like Elsa. Yeah, I think that's it. I see another hand raised. That is also from Pakistan.
Okay, so the gist of my question was completely answered in the last question, and I truly support the fact, because I was on the receiving end of a lot of backlash due to applying sanctions, and it wasn't easy at all. But I believe it was the right thing to do. But for the second part of my question, it is that for the ICB audit, will the sanctions be applicable on the documents before IPM 2021? Since that time was preparation period for LCs and ECBs to connect things, as there were no sanctions from ECB. So if ICB audits any entity, then would the sanctions be applicable only based on the documents before February?
Yeah, I don't know if I get your question, but the idea will be for ICB to start having sanctions just when the document is legislated. You will know that, your NCPs will let you know that even if the document is not in PDF version, we have a legislation during IC, and in that, it's when the document and the sanctions will be applicable. That's the first thing. The second thing, ECB can apply sanctions after IPM. Literally, once IPM was signed, then applicable sanctions can be applicable. That's the only thing. And like following the question that I just thought about you and mixing it with the one that your colleague from Pakistan also did, I think that sometimes the LCPs think that this is not serious or mandatory. And at this point, more than giving you a specific solution, I will open my team to support you. And I will say, like, if you need for ICB auditor or even me to have a space with your MC or to have a space with your LCP, showing them that this is no game, that this is mandatory, and indeed that they can be stopped for making operations, we can access to that. Because maybe they feel this is something that you want to do, but it's actually something that you must do. So if you feel that, and if your MC already feel that, and you need to, I don't know, soft things or make sure that they are aligned with you, we can have those spaces. Of course, you need to request it in advance. Not like, hey, today I need you. No, because we need to planify some things. But we can help you over with that. I don't know if I answered your question about legislation and sanctions.
What I wanted to ask was, you answered my question quite perfectly. One last thing what I want to ask is that, let's say ICB is auditing an entity in this wave, and what, like, will the time period be defined for like the documents that the entity has to submit?
Okay, for that, this answer can be solved with your auditor. We already have a timeline settled, and he can forward it to you. I know you have been asking some things. Sal has been asking some things, but I didn't reply because I was planning all of this. But I will answer all of the questions to Ardito after we finish VICO day 2, because I also have a session after that. So no worries for that. The timeline it's already settled.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Cool. We have Sergio saying, plus if an external sues you and it's possible, it will be super difficult. Yes. That's why we have type of risks in here: continuity, finance, performance, reputational, and legal. Believe me, an OP provider can suit you because of this. And indeed, we are young people, but it's not an excuse. So do things right. Okay, I see general, I don't know. You have your hands raised. Go.
Yes, General. So I have a question related to a little bit of compliance. So, if like, as you know, some countries they have certain mentalities, they have certain way of thinking, and it's not all in all countries the same. So let's say that DLC made an agreement with an OP, okay, and let's say they discussed what an EP is gonna come, okay, whether it was GV or GT or anything else, but uh, the race thing was not mentioned in the in the agreement, and once the EP comes and the opportunity provider finds out, let's say the race, and they don't want this race, let's say, like, I know this is not something we want to discuss in Isaac, but this is something that happens in countries in general. So if this happens when the EP comes to the country, it's not the fault for the entity, because they didn't think that this would be an issue, and it's not the EP's fault. So in this case, if something like this happens, like, where does the fault or the blame falls?
Okay, the thing is that if you gave your OP provider or your EP or any stakeholder a document that has certain things, you will have to follow that, even if it's against the AEPP and the APIP. That's why we always say, you can send us to review, or you can submit it to your auditor or even to BD, and they will give it to us. But if you say something to them, you need to follow that.
Yes, of course. Like, if it is already agreed on, like, we should follow it. But then we like, in this case, we have an EP in the country, and there is no other let's say available opportunity for this EP who is already here. So in this case, like, there is a case that will be like risen up against Lebanon, let's say, for this case. Okay, so, and, like, if this happens, what like, what's the procedure?
We have, okay, it needs to follow the case solving flow, and this case
Okay.
should be handled by your ECB. And I can't not give you any specific solution because I don't know the case, for example. But
Yeah, this is not this didn't
there is a
happen.
compensation. There is a compensation table,
Okay.
and there you can find under certain cases who is the person responsible to make a reimbursement or not. So it's
Okay.
it's basically that. It should be a case that should be under ECBs. If by any means between ECBs you cannot solve the issue or provide an accurate solution to the stakeholder, even if it's the EP, the OP, or whoever, you can send an official case application to ICB, and ICB will solve it with Shinolo's team.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just a hypothetical question, because in case something like this happens in the future, I want to know how to deal with it. So thank you.
Cool. Do we have any other question or comment?
Just a comment on that. That's why it's important for you to make sure that your documents are updated with latest AKP, because in this case, like, just hypothetically, if you don't find a solution, the most likely is, according to compensation table, you have to pay all expenses that the EP have. And if your contract with the OP is not expressing that the OP will pay, then your entity is going to have to pay everything. And it can be, like, very, very expensive, especially depending on from where the EP comes from.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, for the moment, like, if in case something I'm not sure of, I always go back to the coach, or for the responsible for, like, audit and compliance in the region. So, like, I ask and, like, everything, but yeah, thank you for the clarification.
Cool. And while, I don't know, if you have more questions, you can raise your hand or you can type in the chat. I will give a paid promotion for tomorrow. Bring your ECB's audit check. We are going to work on them. We are going to finalize them. And we are going to have basically tomorrow working spaces. Also, if you don't know about your audit system, we will have also a working space to work on the audit system. So come tomorrow, please, with your teams. And right now, I don't know, I think we are close to the time for the next session. We are going to have 2 spaces. The first one is going to be a GCP about engagement with the entity. And as I hear you, some of you need to work on the engagement of your entity. So go, it's a GCP, and it's super, super important for you to attend this if you want to know how other entities are doing. If this entity is facilitating this space, it's because they are really good in that, because we have a lot of applicants for these spaces. So go for it and ask as many questions as you have. And in the other space, it's going to be again with me. And we're going to talk about with another auditor that I have. I don't know if it's already here, from Asia Pacific, Ardito. We're going to talk about safety protocols and health management plan. So if you have any question left, just, I don't know, ask or write. Or if you don't want to do it here, you can text your auditor. Their contacts are in the global contact list. Or you can ask in the delegates group. Or you can reach me also if you want. Or we can talk about paranormal stuff. And that's it.
Thank you so much for coming and listening to us.
Oh, see, are you here?
Yes, we're here. Okay, guys. So here's what we're gonna do. People who sustain for GCPs, which is ECB people, is going to stay in the main room, and the people, the MCs, they're gonna go to safety protocols and health management in a breakout rooms. Okay, that I opened just now. Yes, so you can go, you can click in the breakout rooms and you can assign yourself to go there. That's for MCs. ECBs, they're staying in the main room for GCPs.
Okay.
Thank you, Cande.
You're welcome.
Can we put a song, Cande? Our song, our conference song?
That's why Raulito is super fast and it's already here. You see, this is such a good synergy.
Wow, amazing.
Cande, can you send me to the other room, because I cannot join?
Yes, I will send you.
I can't. Cool, thank you, honey.
VICO, 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 domino, domino, VICO, 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 domino, domino. Killing it with the guillotine flow. Career got legs like a millipede, bro. I bring the truth with the bitterness. Sister with a sonogram, I've been kicking it. I'm never nice, I say things impolitely. So let me get under your skins like Ivy. Without being bougie or gully enough, I'm getting mad respect and money and love. Ladies, then get consensual and tone. My exes wanna eject the pheromone. Expect me to wreck the cervix in their homes when I drop bars like core service in the phone. I embrace my candor, shameless and I'm unfazed by slander. Ngoma with just a vernacular accent and quelled. Everybody who said the rap wouldn't sell, they laughed at my folks in my home. The ones that cracked the prosthetic over my clothes approach me now while I'm laughing my way to the bank, knowing they can't afford me no more. Ain't no stopping now, that's just how it goes. Make that money now, take it from my foes. Try to pull me down, I give you my sort of pose. We gon' drop you like a domino. Come on, VICO, 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 domino, domino. VICO, 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 domino, domino. Y'all get competitive, dropping shit as often as pigeons, and they squabble over the throne while I plot to topple the kingdom. Y'all like vision like Stevie Wonder's itis. I'm the kind of seller gold thumb to Midas. You couldn't reach my level if you were doing lines in the space shuttle with a couple drunken pilots. Facts, leaving you clueless in demise. A vet with the hunger to nuke till I retire. I go hard like a tank cement up in the Arctic while looking at Medusa in the eye. Notice before you throw some mash shade, I was bought hard before the catchphrase. Eat it up in a street, plants like a vegan on a cheat day. Make it look easy. The media feed you dishonesty. I'll be a problem for y'all in the Lehman hypotheses. White dens but I'm one to float. Treat me like an animal and I become the goat. Come on, VICO, 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 domino, VICO, 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 domino. रैम्स में आदत की बारिश है भाई, इनकी तशरीफों में खारिश है भाई, गंदी अंग्रेजी में गंदी सी तेजी को मेरी इतनी हिंदी काफी है भाई. చిన్న పయ్యన్ from the block, about to be a star. అన్బ సంపాదించ వందానల్లా సొక్కాయిరు పంపారే. Ain't no stopping now, that's just how it goes. Take that money now, take it from my folks. Try to pull me down, give you my son of pose. We gon' drop you like a domino. Come on, VICO, 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 domino, domino. Come on, VICO, domino. Come on, VICO, domino.
Okay, hello people. How are you doing? Are you feeling great? Yay! So, okay, here we back. Okay, we still have just one more